Hey, good morning, good evening, good lunchtime, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to sunny Edinburgh, where eventually I'm getting round to doing a launch of this stream profiles store that I've been talking about for a long time and all of the profiles associated with it. So, for those of you who haven't been following along, I've been creating a whole bunch of profiles and they contain a whole load of scenes and a whole load of camera placeholders and a whole load of text placeholders and a whole load of comment placeholders and all those sort of things that you would normally need when running an interview. But it's a lot more to it than that, I would have to say, because the profiles will let you go a lot further. But what I'm going to do is quickly run you through a couple of different scenes, then show you some of the overlays, and then maybe bring on a guest briefly, and then I'll come back and show you what is actually behind the scenes in each one of these profiles and how you might use them. For those who've never used profiles before, think of it as a suitcase with everything you need for your holidays in it. So that suitcase contains all of your scenes, all of your overlays, all of your background assets, and all of the associated placeholders. So absolutely everything to do with your scene can go into a profile, and you can then share those profiles with other people. So what I have done on my site is to put up Ecamm profiles for sharing. You can literally purchase a profile, download it, and with one click everything will come back into Ecamm. If you've got Ecamm open, it will create a brand new profile for you, and you can go start playing about with it. First thing to do if you do download a profile and bring it back into Ecamm would be A, store it in a safe place so that it doesn't disappear up to the cloud, so wherever you normally store your Ecamm assets. And secondly, make a duplicate copy of the profile, because the first thing you're going to do is create your own show and want to strip it down a bit and make some changes. So that's just a bit of a heads up for housekeeping. I'm going to run down a couple of different scenes here, and then we'll come back up to some other bits and pieces. So standard scenes, I've got one set up for a solo host. So a solo host, and below this I've also got guest 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So if you're actually running an interview, all of those are already set up for you. So you can either program them into your Stream Deck, or you can just go select the individual scene as you're running through your scenes to say, hey, I want guest 2 to come on, and they'll come on straight away. So just seeing a comment pop in there, just so everybody knows, and everybody's going to come up as Facebook user for me because I'm not a group admin. So you'll need to let me know who you are for me to be able to say hello to you, which I will do. So I've got a bunch of placeholders in here at the moment, and luckily enough, my better half was happy to pop along and be a placeholder for me. And I've got various different versions of this layout going on for use with Ecamm interviews. And here's another one. And this time I've suddenly got a live person in there, which is a bit weird because I've been looking at placeholders for Neil all day long while I've been putting stuff up to the store. Hey Johnny, thank you for saying who's watching. but thanks for joining me, Neil. I know you've been playing about with some of these profiles, and after I've shown people through a few more of these, we'll perhaps come back to you and see what you think of them, and we'll have some comments in there. But for the moment, what you can do is just sit back and relax, because I'm going to be talking for a little while anyway. Okay.
Sounds good, thanks.
So some more layouts, and the key thing here is that all of these are placeholders and they're all set out for you. And there's Neil again. We're going to come back to that scene in a minute of him live, but here's the ones I've been looking at him not being live, so it just feels a bit weird that he's suddenly moving on the screen. So coming down through all of your number of guests, right up to 4 or 5 guests, 4 guests with comments, and all the way up to 5 guests. So the placeholders will look something like this, and there's Neil live again in the corner. I forgot to take you off there, Neil. So Neil is live in the corner, but this is what it will look like when you get your placeholders. They'll just say guest 1, 2, 3 and 4. You allocate your cameras to the individual guests, and they will just pop up in the same way that Neil has live there. So I'm just going to go back up to my host with comments area here. And this is really just to show you what you can do with some of the backgrounds. So what I have done is I've created a whole bunch of backgrounds on each profile. There's about 10 different backgrounds that you can go choose between. So I'm just going to flick through a couple of backgrounds. And the first one, in fact, is a color block background. So with this color block background, I can go and choose any color that I want to and change that around. So if I want to change it to something horribly green, I can do that. So I can have that a solid color, or I can have that a gradient color, and I can come in and I can actually move the gradients around and things like that. So that's the simplest one, a straight block color. And I know some people will just want a straight block, but I never really want to do that. So I've got all sorts of different backgrounds going on here. And with these different backgrounds, I can just turn them on or off with one click, providing I'm clicking the right buttons. Turn that one off. Thank you, Martin. So a different one. So turn that one on, turn that one off, and so on and so forth. There are literally loads and loads to talk through here, and I could go through the whole one, loads and loads, but it'll take you ages. But there are a load of examples on the website that you can have a look at. But also what I can do with each one of these is I can apply tint and blends and blurs. So here's one here, and if I put a blur in the background, everything stands out slightly. So you may like to have a blur in the background, or you may not want to, but it's there, and you can turn it up and down. The blend as well, I can change the blend mode, and that's going to change the colors for me. So I look like a tube of I was going to say Smarties, but I think they're M&Ms in the States. But so lots of different things that you can play about with, including a motion background, which I can turn off or leave on. And I can also set the opacity on that motion background so that it shows up more and more brightly, dependent on how I set the opacity. I can also choose different blend modes, and it'll do some really wacky things. The only point to note, if you've got a really old Mac, then don't use motion backgrounds. They all take up system resources. I've got a Mac Studio base level. I've never had any problems at all with motion backgrounds, but do consider if you've got an older Mac or you're running tons of things or streaming to lots of different places, everything takes up resources. If you're suddenly noticing the problem, just ditch the motion background. But I really like it. If you go to any sports show, any news show, they've all got subtle motion backgrounds going on, and this one is very subtle and quiet in the background. So this is me talking away. I'll come and have a look at the comments in a little bit, guys, because they're coming in, but I just want to get through stuff and then come back to them. So let's first of all go to some scenes that I've played about with. So you've got all of the standard scenes set up for you, but there's nothing to stop you then playing about with those standard scenes and creating your own ones. So just before we came on, all I did was take one of the scenes, make a duplicate of it, and then add in a couple of different elements. So in this case, I've chosen to have a viewer placeholder down the bottom, and I've just added in a widget overlay for my store, because that's going to allow me to come in to my store and show you through it. So it's kind of a bit of a brain dump. There's tons and tons of stuff on here, and the way it's laid out is that across the top there are actually different headings for menus for different elements. So static backgrounds, motion backgrounds, transitions. Don't worry about those too much at the moment. You can go have a look at the static backgrounds, and there's 120 different ones to choose from there. So loads and loads of different backgrounds to choose from. But the things that we're interested in at the moment is the ready mix profiles. And I call them ready mix profiles because it's like baking a cake when you use a cake mix rather than starting from scratch. So if you're starting from scratch, you have to have your pinch of baking powder and your pinch of cocoa and your pinch of this, pinch of that, measuring everything out. Whereas you could go and buy a cake mix off the shelf, add a couple of eggs, bake the cake and decorate it. So that's what this is about. It's for people who don't have the time to go and line up all of these little boxes and put all the little surrounds on, and then wonder about how you're getting a 3D effect on the surrounds and all of those sort of things, because I've done it all for you. So you can just go in, grab it, and then decorate your cake effectively. So within the website itself, there are a bunch of different profiles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for interviews. The one on the bottom right with me sitting on my own is a free profile for you to go and download. It's one of the first ones I did, and the idea of that one was really just so that you can get it to experiment and have a look and see what the folder structures look like and how the whole thing hangs together. But go download that for free by all means. In fact, I can tell you now, nearly 100 people have downloaded that in the last 30 days for free. And a whole bunch of other people have come in and started to discover the new profiles and are starting to use them already. So each one of these, when you click on it, it's going to show you some profile, some things in the background. Now this one I just completed today, and there's going to be a discount code at the end of this show for 50% off this particular profile, so it's going to cost you $25. So more or less that's $2 a scene, or in terms of my time, that's 12 minutes of my time if you were booking me to do these things. So there are examples of some of the different backgrounds going on and some of the different layouts, and this one I've just called Clean Classic because there's no borders on any of the cameras, and the text placeholders are all nice and clean and tidy and easy to use. So I felt this would be a great one to share for people to start off with. It's the kind of thing that I guess you would be used to seeing other than the unique backgrounds that are going on. Some of the others are slightly different. So the one that I'm using at the moment is called Sharp, and that is because it's sharp and clean and has some nice 3D effects on it. There's a Max Video one, and this one really is about optimizing all of the space on the screen and having square blocks in a nice, easy manner, but with a very picture frame looking surround to each of the blocks. So we're not just getting a single line around everything. We're going to play about with these and get it to look much, much better. So I know there's a school of thought where all you want to do is have a line around you or whatever. I think you can do a lot more with Ecamm, so why wouldn't you make yourself look different? Here's a couple of other different ones. This is the 3D-ish one. I know Tatiana downloaded this and started playing about with it. And this one has got 3D circles on it and shapes, different combinations of shapes and sizes. So it's probably the wackiest of all of them because it's very, very different. So if you're feeling adventurous, go and have a look at that one. And bear in mind that you can play about with some of these. I don't think I've ever seen anybody use a comments circle placeholder. So just getting a bit creative with that particular one and going slightly bonkers probably. And then other ideas that I had, so this is just one that I had very recently, was that traditionally we all put our names at the bottom of the screen, and quite often there's a big placeholder at the bottom of the screen. Then there's another placeholder for the name that may fly in, and then there's the picture up the top. And you start to run out of space because you're squeezing yourself in to that vertical space when there's tons of horizontal space. So I just thought, what would it look like if I just put placeholder names down the side of everything? So that's what I've done on that particular profile. And one thing to watch out for is that when you change the names, they sometimes jump about a bit. So you may need to lock and unlock and move some names about if you're playing about with that particular profile. Ecamm still does some weird things when you rotate names, placeholders 90 degrees. So there we go. That one, again, very different looking from the previous one. Well, I say very different looking. You're still looking at interview mode, so they're all going to look relatively similar. But there's the different ones in there. And as I say, there's going to be a 50% off code at the end, so you're going to have to hang on before I tell you what that is. But that's only for the Clean Classic profile. But if you want to get used to them and play about with them, what I would do is go download the free interview mode, which is kind of fairly plain looking when comparison with what we're looking at the moment, but it's functional. and I already know that a couple of people have downloaded it and enjoyed using it, and I see Facebook users saying they've tried the free version and it was fire. So that's brilliant. I've seen it in the group already a few times. Also on here, you can scroll down. There's some free lower thirds to go and play about with. There's an agenda profile, which is animated, that you can go and play about with. Those two, again, they're kind of me experimenting, but just handing stuff out for people to play with. I will come back and I will redesign all of these to align with what I've just shown you above and make them all look much better. There's a whole load of static backgrounds in here as well. Some of these can look really cool behind you, so there's up to 120 of those, depending on whether you're an art school teacher or whether you're a fan of Blade Runner, or you're doing some business type stuff. And all of these, you can do your tint, your blends, your blur, and change the colors on them, so you're not restricted by what's appearing directly on those individual things. So if you download a profile, there's 10 different things to choose from, plus a color block. If you don't like any of those, then you can go grab one of those images, or you can go anywhere else on the web, or you can take a photograph and drop a photograph in the background. I know that Kenton in wonderful St. Lucia, who I was doing some work with, he went and dropped a lovely picture of the Pitons in St. Lucia in the background and some lovely blue ocean. So you can do that sort of thing as well. So loads and loads that you can do with these profiles. So another quick setup in the background just before we came live. I thought, I don't really want to go into live demo mode. Everything shrinks up. I don't have Pro Mouse, or I did have Pro Mouse. It never seems to work for me. I don't think it works that well for Neil sometimes as well. It's kind of tricky. So I've decided I'm not going into live demo mode here, but I better share with you what is in the scenes and what is in the overlays. So in the scenes area here, you can see a title screen, a bunch of host solo scenes, so host and guest, so that's host and guest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just solo, host plus comments, host plus guest 1, etc., etc. So they're all very clearly labeled. So the first thing you would do when you brought this profile in, as I say, you'd make a duplicate and then you'd say to yourself, how many guests am I going to have today? Probably just the one, or maybe somebody might also join me, but I'm not going to get up to 3 or 4 or whatever. So you would just go grab all the stuff down the bottom of the screen and ditch it, literally drop it out. Go up to the area here where you've got multiple different hosts, and you just get rid of guest 3, guest 4, guest 5 if you're never going to get to those, and just ditch them out. And then that becomes very simple. Then if you want to choose whatever background you want to choose over here, you're really just turning them on or off. So if I turn off the background there and I turn a different one back on, then I'm changing my layout as simple as that. Back to the wave one, and whatever I want. So that's how easy it is to change the backgrounds. Also over here, I've got my tint and blend, my blur, and my motion background as well. So this is where I come in to the tint and blend and turn that on or off, and I can come in and change the color on that tint and blend to probably make it something awful, but we will see. So you can see it's changing the colors for me, and all I'm doing is grabbing some colors off a color palette and seeing what they look like, and it's changing them quite dramatically depending on which color I choose. So you can tint and blend things until your heart's content. I'm going to turn that tint and blend back off again because I don't really want to do a Barbie type theme here, so let's just put it back as it was. And there's also a blur in the background, and if you notice very carefully, there's some blurring going on, and that'll make things stand out or not stand out. And then I've got my motion background down here, and in the motion background I can choose, now you can't see me doing this, but I could choose to change the opacity on the motion background. If I bring it right up, you're starting to see in the background there lots of things going on behind me and kinds of dots coming in. I will tend to drop that down to sort of in the region of 20%. I don't know if it's 20% actually, thinking about it. 20 on the slider, whatever that means. I don't know if it's a percentage. but you can move the motion background up and down, or you can just come and turn it off if that is your want as well. So that is where you choose all of your different elements from there. Also in here, we have the elements within the scene, and they're always neatly laid out. So here, because I've just created a new one with an overlays and a scenes window, those are the two windows to one side of me. But normally you're going to find there is a folder labeled host with a bit of text and a camera in it, and maybe a little bit of background, dependent on how I've laid things out. But they're neatly laid out, so they're labeled host 1, guest 1, guest 2, guest 3, and for each one you can literally turn them off. So I'll make myself disappear because it's all grouped together. And in the same way, there is a background element, and everything in the background is also grouped together. So I could turn off all the backgrounds, or I could turn them off individually if I want to. So they're all clearly labeled again. So that's the host background, and I know it's the host background. So I can turn that on or off if I want to very, very easily. And that's the same for every single scene. The general golden rule, if it says background, leave it alone, okay? Don't touch it. The bits that you want to change are the text for your name, and allocate your cameras to camera A will be set up for you already. But as soon as your guests come in, allocate them to guest 1, 2, 3, and 4, and etc. It will just work. The only other thing there is that I have a banner as well. So in my case, the banner is not that way. I always get that wrong. It's over the other way anyway. So I have a banner to one side of me. Sometimes it's below, sometimes there's two banners in there. But each banner, again, it's labeled out text and background. Leave the background alone. Just come in here, open up the text, and go in and change your text, and it will change your text for you. So literally, if you want to get going straight away, you want to make a copy of it, get rid of everything you don't want, and then just grab the text for the title, change the title, change your names, and you're golden. And then choose your background. Great, you're off and running. So that's how you can do that. What I'm going to do also is come back to playing about with another scene just to show you how I can make them up. And I've got, can you add some nice countdown timers too? Yeah, I've already done that on some actually, but not on these profiles. But I am going to add in 3D countdown timers and animated agendas and things like that. Likelihood is they'll be on a different profile, because I don't want to dump everything into one profile, because people get too scared to see 30, 40, 50 scenes sitting in a profile. Ecamm will also load everything up in that profile each time you bring it in, so it's probably wise to keep them down to a reasonable number of individual elements. But I will also show you how you can make some changes to this to create a placement for a countdown timer if you like. So anyway, I know for a fact that that Neil has been playing about with some of these with me, and so what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to try and find Neil again. He's up here somewhere in Alive. It's not that one, so it must be, is it that one? Oh, it is that one. You're alive in that one, Nick. It's so disconcerting to go down, looking down these tiny little thumbnails of screens and thinking, wait, which one did I put him live in? I can't remember now. And I think it was that one, and maybe host plus 2 guests and comments. That sounds reasonable also. Yeah, you're alive in this one too.
There you go.
Definitely are. So yeah, I've handed a few of these to you, and it's really, how easy did you find it?
Super easy. I mean, yesterday, for example, I was hosting my live show, and probably 15 minutes before I went live, I was just adjusting the font for my particular branding. I just used a different font and added placeholders ready to go in terms of, assigning guests when you came on and things. So it's so easy. I really didn't have to do anything. I just tweaked maybe the color a little bit with one of the background. I think it was just the tint and blend I just played with. I didn't even touch the backgrounds. I selected the one that I wanted, changed the tint and blend, changed my font, change my initials, change your initial because I knew you were coming on as a guest. And then you show me the tip for just making sure that the letter is aligned properly within the placeholder box, and that's it. Super easy. I mean, I've used one of your profiles before as well, obviously, and the one that you gave me was exactly the same process. It's seamless because it's very easy. Everything's laid out. You know exactly what's what. It's all labeled. I mean, you can mess it up, but it's you have to be hard done to try and mess it up. So it was really easy for me to get this done. I've just noticed you've got an E in my name instead of an A, but it's okay. It's FA, not FE, but it's all right.
That's exactly the sort of thing that would be really useful if you had a placeholder that ran through the whole of a presentation.
Yes.
And could change. But we've asked for that in the beta group. So
that's right. That would be useful, wouldn't it?
It would be useful, yeah. So let me see if I can. I've got lots and lots of different placeholders in place within this presentation. So it tends to mess up a bit. When you're doing them, you'll just have your one placeholder, so it won't mess up. It will come in as you have designed it. But because I've got so many in here, it kind of jumps about a little bit on me because I've got them all over the place. But it will be really nice to see people using these profiles. So what I should really do now is to show you how you can play about with them a little bit as well. And what I'm going to do is, I know Neil needs to get away. He's got a call at 6 o'clock. So
yeah, we've got 15 minutes yet.
So I'll let him hang around in the background, but I'm just going to show you how you can play about with some of the profiles as well, because it's more about having the framework there as well and playing about with the framework. So I'm just going to drop down here to a copy of Neil not doing anything, but name's still spelt wrong. So we'll have to go and correct all of those. But if I wanted to create my own scene from here, then I could do. So hi, Mike in the comments. Good to see you there. So if I wanted to get rid of everything here, because I'm going to create a new scene, everything's in folders, so I know that I don't want to get rid of me. I'm going to leave me there. So the folder that's labeled host, I'm not going to get rid of. But I can get rid of all of these other ones because I don't want this at the moment for what I'm about to do. So all I'm going to do here is get rid of all my guests, and then what I'm going to do is create a couple of boxes that I'm going to play about with. So I've got my 4 boxes laid out in the background here. I can just, everything's locked by the way, so that you don't mess it up, but I can just unlock them and get rid of the ones that I don't want and keep the ones that I do want. So I'm going to get rid of a couple of these and keep a couple of these. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to unlock this first one here, which is guest 1, and I'm going to stretch it out so that I know it's at the right width. And then I'm going to get rid of the one that's sitting underneath it. And I'm going to do the same for this one as well. And I'm going to get rid of what is underneath it, which is guest 5. Put that in the bin. So what I'm really doing is creating a sort of a panel layout here, because I want to tell you what's going to be going on. So in this one here, what I think I shall do is add in a text placeholder. Can I do this in a dynamic text placeholder? Yes, I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple of bits of text here to show you where my YouTube channel is in the first place. So bear with me while I go and grab my text for the YouTube channel. And this is just, I've got a very basic YouTube channel, but you can go down and have a wander around and have a look at what is in that particular channel, and then take from it what you will, so to speak. I think I'll just have that actually. I'm just tidying this up. And all I'm doing here is going to bring in a bit of text and bring it in with a font that's very readable, I think. So let's use HI. I can't spell here. This is the main problem. I'm just going to bring this in. So this is the name of my YouTube channel. So I'm just going to pop that into a nice little box there. You already know that the site is sellify.com. So you can just go create your layouts as simple as this and play about with them. And I should just go in here and duplicate this. Come down here, change that one. So that's the name of the store if you haven't already grabbed it. And finally, I'm also going to put one more in here. And this is the one you want to wait for. So if you go to the store, only for the profile which is labeled Classic Clean, you can use the discount code ECAMFAM01 for the next week to get 50% discount. So instead of paying $50 for that, you'll get it for $25. So $25 for, in some cases, 25 scenes plus 10 backgrounds, which should be a $10 each as well, plus a motion background, which is another $25, etc., etc. It's kind of a couple of $100 worth of stuff for $25. It makes no financial sense for me to be doing this. I could certainly earn in 2 days as much as I'm likely to get up in 2 months from $25 or $50 at a time. So this is all about sharing the knowledge with the fam and getting people to use things differently. And I think there's a lot of potential in this technique, and certainly for people who are brand new, but also for people who've used Ecamm quite a lot. You've just seen me in a couple of moments play about with that interview mode scene, but change it to something that's not interview mode at all. This is just me advertising a couple of different elements, and equally as well, I could be dropping in videos or screen shares of Keynote or whatever else it is that you want to just move things around on the screen. But bear in mind, you've already got the layout, so you're not worried about going off to the left or to the right. Just line it up with these boxes that I already have in the background. So that's the discount code, ECAMFAM01. Go through the process, type that in, and you'll get sent a link to download your profile. You'll be able to click on it and you'll be up and going in no time. A couple of minor points with the Sellify store. A couple of people have had problems with their email address. If you get problems getting the link and you don't receive the link, try a different email address. That's number one. And I also had one person, just one, saying that Sellify was being flagged as a rogue website by their internet provider. So he went and had a word with them and they got that sorted out. So I don't know why that was, but it was only one person out of 100. So if any of those happen to you, then try those things first. Get Sellify whitelisted. If it's still a problem, then please come back and see me, and we'll see what I can do for you, because I can always put something up to a different location, and we can take it from there. So back to Neil live, who's on mute.
Sorry, I was just putting comments on from Facebook there. The last comment was from Doc, by the way, just
Right.
referring to video profiles and how they play within Ecamm.
And sorry, so I'm not seeing that comment.
On the Facebook comments just come in?
Nope. Not unless it's down somewhere that I can't see it. No, the last one is I have got
Okay,
this
maybe it's
from
coming
Mike
from
Green.
something else. No worries, no worries. It's coming from something else. Don't worry. I've got this
Right.
other plugin that's pulling comments from everywhere. Don't worry. Ignore that
Oh,
then.
okay.
Doc is not on
Okay.
this.
Okay.
No problem. No problem.
I'm glad I'm not missing out anyway. So anyway, it's up to you. Choice is your own. You can do what you want with layouts and stuff like that. If you don't want the fancy layouts, don't do the fancy layouts. If you do want the fancy layouts, I've laid them all out for you. There will be more of these to come because quite a lot of people look like they're really interested, and it's just a way of making you look a little bit different from the rest of the world when you're playing about on these profiles. So I think with a couple of minutes to go and my voice disappearing because I've just talked very rapidly for half an hour, I think that'll be me. It's normally 6 minutes I speak for or something, and I can do 6 minutes. But thank you everybody who's come and joined us in the comments and for all the comments. We don't get live with Neil in the profile. Well, you did today. He was live eventually, and
Just
I
about.
will now have to spell the name correctly in all the different profiles now. So that's given me a job. That's given me a job and a half to do. You've no idea.
I could change my name if it makes it easier for you. It's probably,
Actually, that would make things a lot easier for me. Okay.
No problem.
So, well, thank you, Neil, for joining me as well, and for everybody else. And hopefully, at some point, you can go have a play about with these profiles, see whether they work for you. And if there are problems with motion backgrounds, just ditch it. Simple as that. So that's it. I think cheerio from sunny Edinburgh, and I will see everybody later at some point. And please feel free to drop me any further questions in the comments, and I'll see if I can get around to it. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.